Welcome to another edition of Bring the Juice Podcast Film Room Breakdown. I'm Lawrence Owen, and today we are going over the 2020 NFL free agent signing of Xavier Rhodes out of Minnesota. Now, Xavier Rhodes was brought in because Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, they decided they wanted to move on from Pierre Desir. Pierre Desir was great when covering some of your bigger targets, some of your possession receivers, guys like DeAndre Hopkins and things. But Hopkins ain't in our division anymore, and we needed someone who could cover speedsters. Pierre got burnt a lot last year. So we bring in someone who has the speed and the agility in order to cover some of those speedsters that we might possibly be going up against. Obviously, like Fuller, but as we see here against the Kansas City Chiefs, there's going to be a bunch of breakdowns of Xavier Rhodes covering guys like Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Cheetah Hill. Now, you talk to some Vikings fans, they're going to tell you that Xavier Rhodes has went to crap the past two seasons, ever since he had his all-pro season back in 2017. Now, I'm going to tell you that is not the case. In the past two seasons, Xavier's had a ton of injuries and surgeries having to do with his core, his thighs, his knees, his ankles. He's had injuries which has just kind of hampered him in really is what his most important aspect is his speed and agility. So today, I'm going to show you what he can do when he's healthy. All right. And in this first play, we're going to show you that he has absolute great play recognition and is able to come in, whether it's a run or a little short dump-off pass to a running back, so that he can actually help in that aspect as well. Right now, you can tell he is right down here at the bottom of the screen, number 29. He's technically covering Travis Kelce. He had him wide. He moved over. Let's go ahead and move this over here. He had moved up. Here we go. He comes up. Boom. All right. Did you see that? All right. So first things first. When this ball's hiked, he steps back just a little. Watches his player. Then, as soon as that ball is faked, he notices the quarterback already has the football. Look at him. He's already turned and went after this running back. Already. He sees he's getting ready to dump that off. There's no one out here on this side of the field. No one. So he knows this is his spot, right? He's got to make sure he doesn't get much after the catch. And he broke immediately. Before the ball was even thrown, he was breaking. Grabbed him, tackled, bam, nothing. That's Xavier Rhodes. Whether it's actually against the pass, like those short little swing passes like you just saw, or even like stretch play on run plays. Xavier Rhodes is very good in short yardage and play recognition. Now, when it comes to actually covering speedsters while you're healthy, Xavier Rhodes is one of the best in the business. Now, what we're going to watch here is he's covering Tyreek Hill right here at the top. That's him and Tyreek one-on-one against each other, okay? He's not going to have any help over the top. He's going to be watching him fully. Now, when he knows he doesn't have help over the top, he's going to give him some space. He might even back up a little bit more before this ball is snapped, just to make sure that Tyreek stays in front of him, because he don't want him to burn past him. If he cuts in front, that's fine. At least it's keeping the ball in front of him. He can then, climb the ladder up and tackle him downhill. At least he's not giving up a big play, right? Well, let's watch how this actual play plays out here. He's firing up his safety right there. He turns back, backs up, gives him about 7-8 yards. Backs up, follows. Did you see, as soon as Hill cut, he followed with him? Look how close he is. He's right hip to hip. He's in his hip pocket right now. Okay, hip pocket. That's Xavier Rhodes. Right as soon as he turned, he was with him. He saw Tyreek turn his hips, and then he cut with him, and followed. Now this ball is thrown, I believe it's thrown to Kelsey over here somewhere, I think. But the fact of the matter is that he covers the speedster guys really, really well, right? Keeps them in front of him, and then when they cut, he cuts. He watches the hips. As soon as the hips turn, then he goes with them. Now, here's a big problem. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when he's pulled out because he needs a break, right? This is what happens when he pulls out when he needs a break. He's not on the field right now. This was back when he needed a breather. You got somebody else on Cheetah, right? We're at the 40. Look how close he is. Look how he's playing. He's playing him right up, bump and run. You do not play bump and run with Tyreek Hill. The man will blow right by you. Xavier Rhodes knows how to play against him. This guy does not. Watch what happens. This is Tyreek just... Oh, and he used a stutter step. I know this is supposed to be against... for Xavier Rhodes. This is just showing you what happens. All right. This stutter step right here, where he's going to look like he's cutting inside. Then he's busting out deep. He's going to blow right. Look how much distance he puts between him and the defender. Xavier Rhodes didn't allow that earlier. This play, because Xavier Rhodes was not on the field covering Hill, was a touchdown. That's just sad. That's just sad. The play before, I showed you exactly what Xavier Rhodes can do when the Cheetah tries to blow right past you. He doesn't allow that to happen. So one of the most difficult plays for any defender, pass defender, to cover is a crossing pattern. Whether it's a post route, whether it's a drag route, whether you're dealing with scissors, it doesn't matter. It is difficult to cover a crossing route. Number one, it's so much easier for a quarterback. He's got open space in front of the receiver that's crossing in front of him, so he could just lead the ball in front of the receiver, and it's very difficult for the corner to get around. He literally has to get around the receiver. The corner has to get around the receiver in order to get his hands on the football. Now, if you're covering a deep route, if you've got some ups, you can just jump and get the ball that way a lot of times. But if this ball, you don't have to have a perfectly thrown football on a crossing pattern to get a completion, unless literally the cornerback is like riding on top of the back of the receiver, and that's difficult to do in a crossing pattern when you're dealing with guys like Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. They're so fast. Let's watch what happens. We got Sammy here. We got Rhodes here. Let's see what happens. There they go. Sammy immediately cuts out. Cross over the front. Oh, that was such a good pass. I mean, that was a beautiful pass right there. And I'm telling you. So we're going to slow this down right here. As you see, Rhodes tried a little bit of bump and run early on in the route. Watkins is going to come around this way. Moore's going to throw a beautiful pass. I mean, you can't throw this ball any better. Watch where he throws this football. Right out front. There's no way Xavier had any way of being able to get to that. But he was there to make sure he went down immediately. There was no yak yards. There was no yards after catch. Okay? That ball was thrown beautifully. And Xavier was there to make the play. A lot of people be like, well, he gave up the pass. But he didn't give any yak yards. And if there was a safety watching over the top, he could have came down and actually helped. But as you can see, there's not another player anywhere in the vicinity. It was just him and Watkins. All right. All the other play on the other side of the field, on this side of the field, went towards the other side of the field, which cleared this out. This was specifically meant for this play to happen. On the next play, I'm going to show you what happens when the ball is not thrown perfectly. So now we get to see that same crossing pattern, only this time opposite side of the field. As you can see, Watkins is over here, same players, Xavier Rhodes standing right over the top of him, getting ready to cover him. And Watson's going to take a little crossing pattern over the middle, knowing for a fact, as he sees this defense, hey, this linebacker is going to have to cover this running back, and the running back's going to go this way, so the linebacker's going to go that way. He knows this. He knows that this linebacker's got Travis Kelce. And Kelsey's going to just turn around for a little dump-off pass, which means the safety's going to come over to him. That's going to leave this whole area right here open. And he's thinking, woohoo, touchdown for me, touchdown for me. All you got to do is throw it halfway decent. But Xavier Rhodes has other plans. Xavier Rhodes is going to channel his inner Miles Turner. Now, I don't know if any of you are Indiana Pacers fan, but Miles Turner is an excellent basketball defensive player. He's most notably known for blocking shots. And on this play, Xavier Rhodes brings the heat on this one. He goes up and blocks the holy smack out of this football out of the air. Let's take a quick look. There he goes. There it is. Whack. All right, so we're going to go back. Now let's break this play down. As I said earlier, right? There's the hike. Now, bam. Linebacker, as I said, coming over here to guard this running back. The safety is slowly working this way because Travis Kelce is doing a little hook pattern right here, just in case Moore decides to throw him a little dump-off pass. This whole area right here is open. Watkins is going to cut right in front of Rhodes here. Watch. Takes the cut inside. At this point, wide open. Ball's in the air. Did you see the air? Did you see the air he got? Look at that. His hand is a foot above Watkins' helmet where he knocks that football down. I mean, he got up and he high-pointed the rejection. High-pointed the rejection. Said, no, this ball is not thrown well. I could knock that sucker out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it wasn't good enough to keep me away from the stupid thing. All right, let's watch this pass. Look at that. Thrown a little bit behind him. Bam! Knocked it out. That's what Xavier Rhodes brings. If you do not throw a perfect ball on crossing patterns with Xavier Rhodes covering those speed wide receivers, he could knock that ball out. How many times have you seen last year, even on the Colts, where Brissett would throw the football and it would be a little behind the receiver, but they'd still have plenty of space between them and the defender because it was a crossing route, right? Whether it be Paris Campbell or T.Y. Hilton or Jack Doyle or Eric Ebron, whoever it was, they'd have plenty of space. Now, it might still be behind them and they drop it, because, it was back on their back shoulder or, behind them a little bit. Xavier Rhodes does not allow that space to happen even on crossing patterns, as you've seen the last two. And on this one, oh my goodness, that was a rejected with authority. You do not throw that crap in my neighborhood. I will not allow it. All right, so like I normally do on every play, every breakdown, the last clip is saved for something that I think a player could work on, something that I don't think they do well. Now on this play, Xavier, again, covering Tyreek Hill, which, by the way, this is the only reception that he allowed from Tyreek Hill the entire game. That 17-yard pass to Sammy Watkins that I showed earlier, The only play that Watkins caught while Rhodes was covering him. And that's who he covered the whole game, Rhodes and Hill. So that tells you something. Now on this play, the situation is Rhodes is a big guy. He's 6'1", like 220. Very fast, agile, but he's a big guy. Tyreek's a smaller, faster, shiftier kind of guy. And when you're covering these guys, you don't want to be in their hip pocket on their break, okay? You want to be able to anticipate their break and keep about an arm's length away from them. Because if you're in their hip pocket right on top of them, then they can use pass interference by pushing off in order to get separation. And the referees ain't going to see it. Because you're right up on them, you're really big, your body's blocking it. Let's watch this play right here. There he goes. Push off. Gets the ball. Now let's go back and watch it in slow-mo. There's Tyreek. He's taking off. Rhodes got a nice little spot here. He's looking. Which way is he going? He don't know. Is he going to cut out this way or is he going to cut out inside? He's not sure. So he's waiting. He's setting his feet. He's keeping his hips loose. He's on his tiptoes. Then he cuts inside. You see Hill. He reaches out to grab. And he pushes his hands. Rhodes is pushing Hill's hand away because Hill brought his hand out to keep Rhodes away from his body because he knows, with his size and arm length, there's no way Hill's going to be able to do anything. Then he gets inside, and then, boom, he pushed off. Now, what that does is not only does that make the defender continue to move down because, he pushed off on him, pushed him in that direction, so he can't stop and come back with him. It also springboards the receiver so that he can make the cutback a lot sooner than normal. No one was able to see that. Why? Why? Because look, this back judge ain't seeing this. Hill's in the way. Now that judge should have seen it. He's got vision right here to see this. But it's not called. But that is a definite push off. But had he not been in Hill's hip pocket on the cut, right here, if he'd have kept an arm's length difference, that wouldn't have happened. But still, an entire game, you're covering Watkins, you're covering Hill, and you only allow one catch to each receiver that you've been covering the entire day. I'd say that's a good job. And both those catches are 17 and 11 yards. Not bad at all. Didn't give up a touchdown. Didn't give up the big play. Guys like Julio Jones, he played, I think, earlier in the season. He allowed one catch to Julio the entire game. I think it was like 11 yards. Xavier Rhodes, when healthy, is an excellent cornerback. Right after this game, he gets injured. It takes away his speed and his agility. And instead of taking him out and putting someone else in and letting Xavier heal up, the Vikings made him play the entire season and the playoffs with the injury. Why? Because they had no depth behind him. And they were afraid the other person would get burnt even worse than what Rhodes did. But the Vikings fans would say otherwise. But that's exactly what happens. Now this season, the Colts went out and got T.J. Carey to go with him and Rock and Moore at the corners. T.J. can play the slot and the outside. So if Rock or Moore or Rhodes get hurt, T.J. can come in and play and relieve them. Let them get healthy so they can play when they're 100% healthy. and not have to make him play the entire season with a nagging injury, especially an injury that's going to limit what you do best. You know, guys like Xavier who rely on his speed and athleticism, if it's core, leg, ankle, something like that, you got to let him heal up. Or at least heal up enough to where that injury is not impeding him. Well, I want to thank everyone that joined me for breaking down Xavier Rhodes' free agency pickup by the Indianapolis Colts here on Bring the Juice podcast. As again, I am Lawrence Owen. You can check me out on YouTube on my own page. And until next time, as usual,